little bit of coffee time for me this Sunday. And it's June 23rd, 2024. And I've been, with all this energy in Cancer right now, I've been a lot more introverted, a lot more self reflective of what is coming next. The collective is going through a resurrection right now. And even one of the crew members caught in Mansfield on TikTok, there's a picture going around of the Eye of Horus that was seen in the sky, which makes sense because Texas was Egypt. And this is where we held last year in August, which we're at 10 months from. So it's all this stuff that happened in August, the 21st, 2021, 2022, 2023 is all aligning for the first time. And that's going to hit its own cycle for the years to come. But all the etheric changes that we did and that happened to us, we allowed to happen onto us, or however you want to say it, from Lionsgate and the Stargates and all of that, is aligning for the first time now. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but if you want to watch the page at the top, we're designing new Cohue designs and products for the brand, and each sun cycle I'm going to change those out, the colors and the barcodes. And I'm just mentioning that because right now, yesterday I went and changed all of them to Cancer, on all my socials, to the Cancer barcode, which you can see at the top of this channel whenever we hang up. And you have to remember, this is a conscious brand. When we're dealing with these color rays and with the star rays, and especially when I'm creating it, because I created it with my team and with the entire collective, but no matter, when we start designing things and releasing them to the collective consciously, then it does start ripple effects within the energetics of the collective, because we're conscious. We're conscious. I'm on my 7th year of tracking all of this with the collective and the clearings. And so I had all morning when I was dreaming, I was dreaming about this Cancer Capricorn balance beam thing that we've got going on here. And so I wanted to come on and talk about it with all of you. This really has a lot to do with, in the old timelines, people would call the pole flip. How those pole flips went down the times before, and also why we're not seeing, and the archaeologists and the geologists and the even the astronomers, why this cycle they're not seeing the same exact thing that happened all the times before, is what I want to talk about. This is bigger than a pole flip. Remember that the poles were originally set to what? They were set to Cancer and Capricorn. But Polaris is not in Cancer. Polaris is in Gemini. And so it's off just a little bit to the left. This was the problem. All the other pole flips that we've had on this realm with humans, which goes back millions of years, were gridded to Polaris. Polaris is Gemini. Polaris is right on the other side of Betelgeuse. It's like 29 degrees of Gemini. Well, when you understand where the earth, the heart, where the human race was on the evolutionary Star Trek with all of the star maps, you can easily see that Gemini and these Orion planets, so that's Betelgeuse, Bellatrix, even the Arcturian stuff, all these stars, which are the supergiants, went all the way out. It's like the Star Trek for evolution of DNA codes goes. From the perspective that I have the map on it, it goes like this. Centauri would be right where my wrist is. Spica would be way at the top. And it's literally a gene sequence. It looks like a big gene sequence, but it's how all the stars connect, because why? Stars are birthed from the collective that's down here. So energetically, when there's enough of us that are holding that frequency for the bubble, then it bumps up an evolutionary count. This was a 1,000,000-year reset. So over the last 7 years, and really for the last 50 years, but over the last 7 years, what the collective has been doing, from us star seeds and all of us clearing timelines and was moving that genome up this scale to pull out of that false solar alignment. Now, how did it become false? Because we weren't moving. We were in a flat earth. We were in like a dome. It was after death timelines. There's a reason that it was all set up. There was a reason that it was the way it was, but it's all made to undo. Now, I tell you all of that because here, if this is the evolutionary star counts, right? Well, then way out that direction is Betelgeuse and the Gemini stuff. And it's really, and then way down there is Sirius, which is Cancer. So it's like everything was getting pulled like taffy and expanded out instead of up. Now that's the entire cosmic fabric. And what that did in a lot of ways was make a giant blister. Because it was getting pulled. And this is just, it's when the Orion, Ophiuchus handed off the collective to Orion in the last count, which is always what happened down here. This is how the 1,000 years peace comes into effect, is Ophiuchus coming back in, connecting. That's all your ancient knowledge. This is when everybody gets the information, all of that. So what's happening with this pole flip, because the pole ended up being not in Cancer. The pole ended up in Polaris and grid down there in Gemini, which was always keeping it in your mind. With the pole on Gemini, what it's almost like I'm seeing, you know how glass is made? You know, you can put a lightning rod in sand, and then when that lightning hits the sand, then it creates glass underneath the sand. Well, that's Polaris and Gemini. It's because it's not coming all the way through your etheric bubble into your body, and then that energy coming out of your body. It's more a supercharged energy that's coming straight down and hitting a dome, a reflector, something, which makes it split. Which is why Gemini, you know, it's that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing, and as a collective, Gemini has to be mastered individually. You're mastering Gemini because you're mastering Sagittarius. And what do I mean by that? That means that you're taking those rays that were coming in directly to the orb and you're embodying all of the channels at once, which is what you would call multidimensional. Well, what's happened is that Polaris bind, because you have to remember that it's not flat. Every even if it is flat, it's creating an energy bubble that we're all down here on. So if that energy bubble was being held and everything was being run from the dark side, and that pole was being held almost like we were upside down, with the pole of it being in Polaris, not in Polus, which is 1 degree Capricorn, which would put us in a correct Cancer Capricorn lineup, a cardinal lineup. What's happening is that in this pole flip, it's not going to just completely flip like it did before, because we were conscious and we were controlling it. So in all the other pole flips that happened, is like we were just all down here, blah, 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 unconscious, not even realizing, not remembering it was a rebirth cycle, not knowing, blah, 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 blah. And then boom, all of a sudden, because the sedation gets heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier, and you're in a big bubble. And so what happens? It's like your feet stick to the bubble and you flip upside down, and now everything that was the heaviest is on top for a moment, for a while, depends on how deep it is, and because then it'll start coming down. But it's a slow process for that density to break up and fall down. But in a normal pole flip, if you're standing at the top, then all of a sudden you're at the very bottom and everything's falling on top of you. If you're on the bottom, then and if you're glued to the side with a bunch of dark energetics and goo and blah blah blah, whenever you go to the top, you're kind of gonna stick on it like fly paper. And that's what was happening. If you in the old time flips, it's like the bubble just had to flip because it got off balance. But realize that whenever you're the highest frequency and you're on top, and you're on top of that, even if you don't even know consciously, if you're just going about your daily life and in the cycles that were here before, and you didn't even remember who you were, it doesn't matter. You're still holding that same energetic. So what was happening to all of us starseeds and divine ones and whatever, when that flips, we're like glued to it, and we go all the way down to the bottom, and boom, now everything's landing on top of us. And in our life, it'll show up as just kind of everything going berserk, or 2013, the shift for me. I ended up in New Orleans with a guy named Kane, like basically back in hell, figuring out what the hell. But that is a great example of an energetic flip, would be 2012 to 2013. An energetic flip, not a pole flip, an energetic flip. Because we're conscious, because we were going through an entire DNA rebirth, and mostly because so many attacks, vaccinations, pharma, oil and gas, corporations, the orders, everybody was trying to control this one, because they knew Ophiuchus was coming in. They knew this was a 1,000-year reset. The more that they could, which basically meant that if the wrong people got in charge, that they're going to rule the realm for 1,000 years. This is also why the presidency stuff isn't about the presidency. The presidency stuff and all the characters that are moving around and blah 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 blah. It was all just for the presidency, the government to have control at the end of days so that they could control it for the next 1,000 years. That was their plan. Not what happened. Because we were conscious and we were energetically rebirthing. All of us that were doing healings, every single healing that you did, for me it was all the charts that I did in 2018 and all the work that we were doing behind the scenes to uncover what all's been going on down here within the blood and within the cycles and how this got so off time. All of that has been rebirthed in the DNA. And we hit Spica. On the, if Centauri would be where my wrist is, Spica would be way up here. And there's a big jump from that center Centauri sun all the way up to Spica. So, if you will, it kind of creates a triangle from where Centauri would have been up here in Spica and way out here in Betelgeuse and the supergiants. It creates like this triangulation even within the visual. Because you're going to jump through it and you're going to move through it. Now this cycle, because we were activated, because we rewoke all the planets, why can't you say it? Reweaved the actual cosmic planetary system back into a free-flowing collective system, because when it all works together, that's how the machine works. Venus holds a specific energy part. Mars does a particular part. Saturn does a particular part. And now that the system is working collectively again, all right, what's happening is as everybody activates and their bubbles blow, all that energy has to be remerged and balanced. Now, instead of having what you would consider a complete pole flip, whether you're flipping from the down to the up and going all the way up 180 degrees, what's happening is it's more going at it's going at 90 degrees. It's going to go 90 degrees at a time. Right now, what's moving in is that a Cancer in the first house. So energetically, instead of the whole thing, all the densities at the bottom, now all the density is going to be at the top, and then you're just like boom, and it's on top of you, and you're trying to, or you're standing on top of it, either one. Instead of that drastic maneuver, because the collective was activated, and because a couple of us had already made it all the way out and cleared everything all the way up and came all the way back in, but only in like a chute, because there was only a couple of us. It wasn't thousands of us. It wasn't millions of us. It was a couple of us attached to thousands and millions of us that cleared the whole thing, so that we could just move it 90 degrees instead of 180, so that this middle layer can be cleared in the physics of the cosmos, because all that energy has to be cleared. You know, it's like putting two flashlights in space, and just two. It's like having two flashlights in space and going, okay, can everybody see now? That flashlight shining through the density of space is going to break one ray. It's going to make one channel. It's going to make a chute, but it's not like 50 million flashlights on all over inside the realm. And now what can you see out in space? That's what it looks like to the energetic body. So it's being controlled because it's expanding. See, when we go back and we talk about how Spica goes up here, and in the middle was Centauri, and then the originals were original genome was way down here, right? And then over time it got stretched out this direction, and this, and like flypaper, flipping it and then binding it is how they were controlling time. It is time travel. This intersect from Sirius down here all the way out to the supergiants, because it had been stretched. But the collective in the old energy was only working on an up and down thing, but everything was getting stretched out and recalled and recalled and recalled. So in the amount of expansion that has gone on is basically now from way out there to way down there to this cross section. The whole thing is blown out. There's no more space in between at the highest perspective. It's been blown out. The space that is the space to make a massive circle that reaches Sirius all the way down here, Gemini all the way over here, Spica all the way up here, and down to its origin, connecting those four. It's making it's a massive orb. And energy has to be contained in a way so it doesn't leak out into space. And basically that's what this new plasma field is, that big. Whereas before, you've got a whole bunch of dead space over here, you got a whole bunch of dead space in between here, you got a whole bunch of dead space over here, and everybody was basically operating on a ray from there connected up to there, or a ray from there connecting up to there, with the cross section in the middle that connects. Now the whole thing is opening up. Now, since we've got this huge bubble now that the entire collective's DNA is operating in, that's allowing everybody's etheric aura and bubbles to open up, what's happening is all that space that I just said, whenever we were on this weird cross section, and there's all this space over here, and this space that's in here in this triangle, and this space that's being held over here, now has to be cleared by the collective. And inherently you're doing it. Inherently it's just happening because your light is coming out of your energy body. It's now it's a bunch of colorful flashlights that are showing that space. All that has to be transmuted. Now, this is how it's being controlled. This is why we're going to this 90-degree angle right now, because it's also why the earthquakes and the floods and and then not only all of that, it's everything, those couple of things, the floods, the tornadoes, the earthquakes, the marine life acting weird, the ring of fire activating. We're waiting for a bigger blowback down here. But remember, all of those things too are associated to technology and the 5G grids and the tech grids, because there are 3 levels of tech. They had us operating on the lowest one. There are 3 levels of technology energetically that work with the human body. They had the collective on .com. It would have been the lowest one from its origin, without any fuckery. So I've taught, and I hope this is making sense. This stuff is so hard to explain, but I hope this is making sense. This shift that we're merging into right now, it's a 3-part system. Because why? Because we've got because everything's getting into an energetic balance, into everybody on the planet is getting into an energetic balance within the cosmos, depending on what frequency you're on, not depending on if you were stuck to the top or stuck to the bottom. Because the whole thing now has completely expanded. So we're all vibrating to a specific frequency. You're in a group, whether you know it or not, with an energetic. Okay, and this is like the past 7 years, all of us getting out of our curses, all of us getting out of our adopted weird ass whatever the f switch arounds with children and babies because of our DNA, because of our gifts, da 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 da, finding out more family information. It just showing up right in front of you. Well, that's an example of clearing this density that's now opening up within in these pockets for us to merge with. But it won't necessarily be the same beings that have already shot out and cleared it at different levels. So, you know, you're basically going to link in at the highest frequency that you've made it to in the past 7 years. Not necessarily where you are right now. Let me say it again. You're going to link into the highest frequency that you've been able to obtain to and clear over the past 7 years. Not necessarily the energetic that you're in right now. Okay? Because it's like a slug. If you laid a trail to that energy and you've created in the highest frequency that everything's gonna attune to, this is how high that you've gotten. That's the energetic that you're gonna be getting pulled up into to now start creating in it. But this is also why, with all this energy in Cancer right now, we're all, especially, you know, we're going through a little I've never felt as subconscious about myself and how I delivered a message as I did yesterday on TikTok. How long have I been doing this? 7 years. I've been showing up on here and having to spur the craziest information, give everybody the craziest messages, not caring how I looked, blah, 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 blah. But yesterday, when I did that, I had to force myself, and it was important that I do it because I needed to get out of that. But energetically, that's what we're feeling, because everything's with Venus, the sun, and Mercury all in Cancer right now. And so Mercury just went into Sirius B, which is the mind. Okay, well, so Mercury is your mind. And it just went into the collective mind, like the motherboard, like the big call for line 3. All right, 3, 4. The big timeline motherboard, Sirius B. Mercury's in there right now. Venus is almost to 9 degrees. 9 degrees is the end of Sirius A. That's into the heart degrees. But at 9 degrees is whenever your circulation starts. Is when your heart is pumping now from 6, because the 6 starts pumping. Venus just went over that like a day or so ago. So the heart's pumping. So the energy's flowing, not the sun. The sun hadn't quite got there yet. You following me? First we had Mercury going over it, because we got to lay it with our mind. Then Venus goes over it, turns on the circulation in the motor. Then the sun gets there, and it's like, bing! That's what's happening right now. And what's Cancer? The 4th house. What's the 4th house about? Family, but extended family, not second house. Second house is I am Chastia. I live in Texas. This is my friend. This is my lover. This is my ma. This is my pa. So weird, I never use those words. This is the car I drive. That's second house. That's making up your immediate surroundings. 4th house is extended family. dimensional family, DNA family, having the same bloodlines as others, organizations, spiritual organizations, non-spiritual organizations. It's extended family. Why? Because now we know our bodies all work together in one big unit. The human body works together in one big unit. All of our bodies are operating on these different energetics with the cosmos, which is what is making your body pump. It's what's making your heart pump. So it's making your mind elevate. So and astronomy is anatomy. Astronomy is anatomy. So, you know, all these different flips and things that we've gone through within the counts with all this, because it's basically giant weights. It's the masonry that most of them had set up had to do with car dealerships in weird places. Car dealerships on ley lines. Why? Because they want all the concrete there. They want all the cars there. Well, it's like spinning a tire. If you go get your tires rotated and they have to put a weight on your tire, that's all happening right now. Because the weights that where the car dealerships were, where the RV parks were, where the big buildings were, those ley lines aren't connecting. Because it's a different frequency. It's spinning quicker. It's not aligning to where the weights were put by the masons. But that's why they might leave trash. You know, they also put a bunch of trash in their yard. They want to dirty the energy in specific spots. They've got stuff everywhere. You know, that's another hillbilly willbilly thing. But that's in order to keep that tire from balancing. It's to keep it off on a jump. Okay? Well, that structure had been done like that for so long that it just started going to, it didn't jump. It got to where it didn't jump because it was weighted down so much it just landed and then it just stopped. Well, that's how Polaris got to be Polestar. So now the natural energetic of everybody working together in a dance is working. So we're landing those turns. We're landing those pirouettes. It's not going to drop off at the junkyard or exactly where the trash is being collected over here or bad, nefarious stuff being done there. It's going to go over that. So that energy is going to make a full circle. Well, that's why we're having the floods. That's why we're having, right? The good news is we were able to master the whole wheel, because the point is we're getting the collective out of the wheel. You're coming out of the wheel. You're coming out of the well. You're coming out of the matrix. We're coming out. But we can't do that all at once. And there's 3 levels that now, when Saturn goes retrograde on the 29th, and what's happening right now is that everyone's kind of starting to vibrate to whatever level you're going to hook into. And you have to, it's like 3 different bubbles, but it's 3 different settings within one big bubble, because this is all about the masses. It's like if the whole world knew what I was telling you right now, we'd be done with this. If the whole world knew right now what I was telling you, we'd be done with this. Because this is, for all of us down here, you have to start realizing that we are driving a star rock, whatever you want to call this, through space. This is why the matrix and the dome was put up to begin with. Because nobody remembered that that's what we were doing. But it still had to be done. So it's like the ancients put out their body and allowed for everybody to get in their ship, basically, so that we could guide the collective through the area and space that we had gotten to. And it was deep, and it was all the way down. So it's almost, and then I'll take Santa Claus's sack. Then it became the sack. Then the ancients were pulling the sack with the sleigh, but we was having to drive through space with everybody on our back. Well, now it's expanded so big, and enough of the collective is activated that now we're just vibrating to the right energetic. But then everybody else has got to keep up. And so basically there's 3 different levels within the wheel that's setting right now. And none of them ahead or above another. You've got Sagittarius in the first house. That would be the ancient consciousness that we're driving this planet, that it's star alignments, that we've got to balance and clear. Sagittarius in the first house, and how all of this is done because we're doing it right now. If that's where you are. If you firmly understand what I'm telling you right now, like all of it, and you know that we're steering the star and an ancient alchemist even, so this makes sense because you're doing energy alchemy, blah 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 blah. You're gonna be Sagittarius in the first house at the top. The tier that most beings are going in, and this is most of the healers, the shamans, people that were activated and maybe channeling, but they were channeling, but they weren't necessarily doing anything with it. They weren't allowed to move around, to clear grids, to do pretty much all the crazy stuff that you learn in fully embodying the energy once you've cleared enough of that ancestry space, all the ancestry stuff. Cancer in the first house. That collective's going to go Cancer in the first house, which is what is setting right now. And then there's a level underneath that the masses, the ones who and the vaccinated and the masses that haven't done anything, aren't aligned at all, are going about their regular business, acting like none of this is happening. They're going to go to Libra in the first house. Well, the first house is what? I am. And the first house is basically the needle hitting the record, and it's Aries in this cardinal alignment, and it's I am, okay? So with Sagittarius in the first house, this is your ancients, no matter, because some of us that came back in and had already cleared the whole wheel and went Sag in the first house aren't gonna stay there. Some of us energetically might click back in with this collective coming in Cancer in the first house, because that's what Cancer in the first house is. I am a part of a big group of energetic beings that is working together in an amoeba in order to clear the cosmos, birth the sun, clear connections. Cancer's your Essene lineages. Cancer's the Yahshua connection into the Egyptian lineages that would come from Sagittarius. I am in Christ consciousness. I am in an ascended energetic. I carry and control a healing energetic that is built and made by a large group of us. I am a fish in a pool and we all swim together. Cancer in the first house. That's what's flipping in right now. Libra in the first house, I am balance. Also, with the star systems, Libra is having, because even Libra in the first house, because of Arcturus and how all these Arcturian degrees and Libran degrees and the body codes that were held on the dark side only to certain projectors, right? And that skeleton key has been changed. So Libra in the first house is having to get your heart up to a higher current, having to get your body in to where you can hold this energy, because it's totally different. It's totally different, isn't it? It's like if you ever gone to yoga, you worked out all the time, use a bodybuilder, use running, use in shape, but then you go to a yoga or a dance class and you're like, what the fuck? I didn't know I had a muscle there. Well, that's because energetically you're holding up you're holding up the energy bubble. It's coming, all that energy is coming in with you and flowing out. Your machine has to be oiled up, lubricated, expanded, emotionally balanced. Can't be going off on people, acting like I was 2020 on a dragon swarm, you know. That's Libra in the first house. Now, each sets of this collective that are balancing, because this is all just now kind of coming in. So that Cancer middle piece is merging for this new collective, because we're going to be the ones that are steering that energetic as it's clearing. Another I saw a Pleiadian starseed that did a message this week, and can y'all give me a thumbs up? I mean, we're only steering the planet outside of, we're only stopping everything from blowing up down here, and I'm only on here telling you this so that you have some type of consciousness on it. And I don't know, I've only done like millions of years in order to be able to be the one to come up here and tell you this right now, so that we'd have somebody, so we wouldn't just flow out into space. Oh, and then I just got a thumbs up taken. Oh, now there's 3. It was changing. It went to 0. I was like, okay, that's great. I really don't care. I just have to ask and remind y'all so that we can try to get these numbers up more naturally the way they need to. But it was a Pleiadian. Now, I wanted to talk about that because whenever you're seeing people that are channeling Pleiadian energy right now, especially from this move forward, realize that what they're channeling to you is kind of like star missions. The Pleiadians and the ones that channel that Pleiadian energy are gonna, which you probably don't know, because remember, we're all star seeds. I mean, if you have a planet that, or the sun or the moon that's in Taurus from 24 degrees to 28 degrees, you're Pleiadian. But guess what? There isn't very many Pleiadians down here. Out of all the star seeds, the least that I've seen has been Pleiades. You know why? Because the Pleiadian consciousness is basically right above the human consciousness. If here's the orb, your most ancient stars are going to come from way out there, way out there, way down there, way down there, and then they're going to all project, and then they're going to have to birth a ring, and then that's going to produce, and then that happens, and then it happens again, and it happens again. So Pleiades is right above the Earth, like you'd want to call it, like the aura of Earth. Is it the Pleiadians have that energetic, the in between. This is why sexual energy is a mass productor for the Pleiadians, and your communications are off the chart. A lot of people see you and want to be around you, blah, 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 blah. Well, this is because Pleiadian energy is basically like a speaker system in the 4D. That's how I've been describing it lately. It's like the 4D, but it's a speaker system in the 4D. So that's why whenever you have Pleiadian energy, that your sexual energy is so powerful, but it can fuck you up because you're not just your sexual energy, you're channeling everybody's sexual energy, because sexual energy produces a current. So basically you're in that current and you're talking in that energy, you're putting it out in a wave in that energy, you're always in a wave. They were using some of these in order to dispense disease. Like, that's how Hollywood was using them. When they came across a Pleiadian, then they'd want to infest them with something so that it would go out to the collective. Okay? So, Pleiadian energy is like right above the human consciousness. Like what? Not above the human consciousness. Above a certain layer of the human consciousness. Okay? It's where we're kind of meet in the astrals. It's a 4D. So the Pleiadian messages that you see coming in, and what will be is they're giving us more now star mission, what's happening. Because there is some military maneuvers that are being done down here. We are here for that reason as well. We all know that in some way. We just don't know exactly how and why. But we control a lot more of that energy than you think we do. Because our energy, it was made from our energy. Okay? But how she described it is that there's two groups of starseeds right now. There's going to be the group of starseeds that is on mission, moving around in a current mission, which is kind of like the energy that I just finished with, because now I became in the retired starseed for like the past year. Although I was on here telling you, and it was still all connecting, because everything was still connecting this past year in 2023 from what the original missions had already done. But in a way, I became a retired starseed because I haven't been moving, right? So there's a group that's active. That's active. You're active on your mission. You're in the middle of it. Because it ties up on you, and so you're in the middle of starting to maneuver it. And then there's those of us who have kind of already done that, who've been tracking it, that are watching as it keeps growing, taking, just like I'm on here talking about this Cancer Capricorn flip. Now the retired, those of us that are retired are coming back into action, but with new missions. It's gonna be mastery. So it's gonna be more of mass alchemy. You know, this group over here is gonna be utilizing it because y'all are giving us the keys on we're channeling what everybody's going through over here as we're clearing through this bigger bubble, which is telling the retired starseeds more of how to use our masteries in order to help guide and balance it, because that's all it's about. Problem is, we've got billions of people on this planet that aren't doing it. And that's what has to change. Everybody's got to balance out their energy. So if you've got Libra in the first house on the very bottom in this depths, because we know most of them unfortunately are at the bottom, but that's okay, because it didn't go all the way down. The bottom didn't fall out because we blew a hole and took the whole thing up a notch. So it's not gonna now go down, boom, like it would land like that. Now, because we blew it open, it's more like the Epcot circle that goes up the pole, and it's rising like that, but it's expanding at the same time. So now from the general collective, they're in Libra in the first house, not Aries, because it flipped. So they're for the general collective. Now everything's having to balance out, because that foundation has to come out of that masonry, or not. But the rest of it's moving up. So what parts are coming? That balance is then putting Cancer in the first house beings that already know that you're connected into a bigger unit. It's putting all of those individual cells on a path. because of what's having to happen in Libra in the first house. Even if it's all unconscious, even if it's like a boom, boom, like all of us getting woke up, losing everything, blah 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 blah, blah everything of fate. Because even if it's just chaos, it's still all happening in different cells, all because it's all been undone. It's just expanding, and that's sending the messages up to Cancer in the first house to form bigger units, families, communicate. How are we going to connect with all that? Putting everybody back together in a sense that needs to be together for this mission. And then Sagittarius in the first house is then monitoring that from a macro cycle, like what I'm on here talking about now. And this process that I'm talking about right now with either, so what happens is everything, whenever Libra gets balanced out, which it's going to take, you know, it's not going to be on a day-to-day basis that you can flip to this new first house. It happens all at once, and it happens to a collective all at once, like 3 records on a triple-decker record player. The record, just that bottom record's gonna drop when Libra gets in the first house. Then once the foundation is balanced and everybody's activating their bodies, then you naturally become into a frequency of a larger group or organization or current, no matter which one you're in, because there's two, two in extremes. That current is going to pull you up, or it's going to leave you in Libra in the first house. That's going to happen year after year after year after year after year until 2032. The ones that were in Cancer, cleaning the family, cleaning the body, had to come, blah, 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 have already gone through all those pieces now. What you're gonna start becoming a part more of is Sagittarius in the first house. Now you're gonna have to stop moving so much. You're gonna have to realize how powerful you are. You're gonna have to realize how many are attached to you. You're gonna be shown every movement you make then aligns and allows someone else in the group to do it. You're gonna have to become kind of like your own sovereign queen. You're going to go through your sovereign queen or king stage, to where you start being shown by your guides, by your experience, how to utilize mass alchemy to keep it balanced, to get these messages, to tell everybody in the collective, right? So that's what's lining up right now. The new moon that's coming up is also in Cancer and Capricorn. The last full moon we had was at 0 degrees Cancer, 0 degrees Capricorn. Polis is at 1 degree Capricorn. My Jupiter is on Polis. This is why I know all this Edward Casey stuff, because Edward Casey had 1 degree Capricorn on Polis. Because I'm from that line. That's why I know all this stuff about Polis. So I just wanted to come on, tell you guys all of that. There's a cocooning of sorts going on right now energetically. I just needed to come tell everybody, because Saturn's going to go retro on the 29th, and that's what this is preparing for. So I needed to get this message out. Otherwise, honestly, I wouldn't have even shown up today, because I'm going through so many changes within my body and within my mind. It's like a merger. In a weird way, last night I described it as like 2 or 3 personalities of mine all having to merge into one. But it's like it's not like I have multiple personality disorder. It's more so when you come through your clearings and you have to embody so many different ancestral energies. You go through, that's Cancer in the first house. You you're embodying so many different ancestral lines, basically like your higher selves, because you're having to act on behalf of your higher self, and all of those higher selves in these stages that go up and up and up and up. Then, and it's been years that we've been doing it, you know, now it's like the resonance has been hit as to which ones need to come in order and to stay, and which personality, you know, which Akashic libraries even need to be fully embodied, and the rest of it's kind of like already done. So then it's dispersed to other beings within the amoeba, because you don't need it anymore. So you get more of a power punch of the 2 to 3 levels of higher selves, if you want to think about it that way, that are all lining up to order to handle this expansion energy. And so it really does kind of feel like you're merging 2 to 3 higher selves. Another way to think about it would be like, from the Alpha Draconic side, all the different DNA that you have from, you know, you'll reach a plateau in that DNA strand. But remember, some of them are coming from down here, some of them are coming from out here, some of them are coming from out here, and this is also the archangels, the ones that are way out in that collective. So it's like merging 2 or 3 of them in order to hyper focus on that energetic, to bring in a very specific template, to be able to do very specific things. And that's where I'm at right now in this. And I was a Sagittarius in the first house. Because we're coming in as the leaders of Cancer in the first house. We're coming in as the leaders of Cancer in the first house. And those of us, because we've already blown through every single layer, so now it's like we've gone energetically, and it's like, okay, I need you, I need you, I need you, and I need you. All right, embody in me. And in that process, it feels like you're taking a little bit of yourself from here, and you want a little bit of yourself from here, and you don't want to act like that in this full energy, but you want to be able to bring in that knowledge, and you need all the templates for the businesses and all that from this one, right? That's what's happening right now with all this energy in Cancer. And the sun, as it gets to 9 degrees, which is gonna be another 7 days or so, 6-7 days, as it gets to 9 degrees of Cancer, then Venus is already gonna be inside the mind. So it's like when the sun lines up to full circulation of that new collective, everybody in their place, all of it getting turned on, kaboom! Like we're all on the Beatles bus. Everybody knows their part. That's 9 degrees sun, 9 degrees Cancer. But Venus will already be in Sirius B. Mercury will already be in Sirius C, which will be the soul. We've got a Mercury retrograde coming up too soon. We're starting, the Saturn retrograde is the first one. We've got a couple of retrogrades that are coming in order to backtrack over this energy so that we can connect into it with this new frequency that you're embodying right now. So be good to yourself. Sleep might be off. Mine was. Like I was in a different time zone. I'm finally kind of getting back to normal. Throat chakra activations, which are obviously happening even on this video. Stomach stuff. Also, just a hyper focus on what you need to do to take care of your body. because those of us that were Sagittarius in the first house that just had to basically charge through this thing, like we didn't even bother working on our bodies because we knew that it was going to get blown out, and it did. But so a lot of us are having to learn how to take care of our bodies. All of you that already know have been taking care of your body and you're upset because you're not getting the Akashic downloads that all of us were getting, well, get ready. Get ready. Because this is the family, ancient family jewels all coming in. All right. Share this message to anybody that seems to be going through some emotional stuff, because Cancer in the first house is emotional mastery. You've got to learn how to master your emotions. You cannot be triggered when you're a collective leader. You cannot. So that this is what we're going to be going through together as everything's spinning on As the Cosmos Turns.